Just before this BBC podcast gets underway, here's something you may not know. My name's Linda Davies, and I commission podcasts for BBC Sounds. As you'd expect, at the BBC we make podcasts of the very highest quality, featuring the most knowledgeable experts and genuinely engaging voices. What you may not know is that the BBC makes podcasts about all kinds of things, like pop stars, poltergeists, cricket, and conspiracy theories, and that's just a few examples. If you'd like to discover something a little bit unexpected, find your next podcast over at BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Alasdair Lamont. Welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, keeping you up to speed on everything you need to know about the national game. It's Wednesday the 3rd of April, and with the Old Firm derby taking place this weekend. Today we're going to shine a light on the other Premiership games this weekend.
Go back to Mizani, onto the left foot, he's on the right and he scores!
Back to Cameron, who goes for goal. Is it in? It is! That is an outrageous lob.
Can Hibs bounce back into the top 6 at Dundee's expense? Can managerless Aberdeen win 3 in a row? And can anyone climb clear at the bottom?
Duke Love, little touch, and John McGrath! Aberdeen retake the lead, and Jamie McGrath's the goal scorer.
Sidibe's there! Sensational from Adama Sidibe.
And it's a big few days for the Scottish women's national team.
Serbia is a very difficult opponent, especially the way away. Yeah, we expect a hostile environment, but we are prepared from today for that.
We preview their crucial Euro qualifiers against Serbia and Slovakia.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Well, I'm joined today by Rory Loy, former Rangers Dundee and Falkirk striker, and Thomas Duncan, my colleague at BBC Sports Scotland, journalist and commentator. How are you this morning, guys?
Good, thanks, Al.
All good, Al, yeah, all good, ready to go.
Good show. Well, as ever, there's lots to get through with Rory and Thomas, but first let's run through the latest Scottish football headlines. In the Championship, Airdrie won 2-1 at Arbroath thanks to goals from Callum Fordyce and Gabby McGill to move back into the promotion playoff places. John Beaton's been appointed as the referee for Sunday's crucial Old Firm derby at Ibrox. Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers received a touchline ban last week for criticising Beaton's performance as VAR in a 2-0 defeat by Hearts recently. As Aberdeen's search for a new manager continues, reports suggest Elfsborg boss Jimmy Tellin could still be in frame for the position. And Brogan Hay and Christy Harrison-Murray have been called up to the Scotland women's team squad for the Euro qualifiers against Serbia and Slovakia. They replace the injured Christy Grimshaw and Hayley Lauder.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
I just want to touch quickly on that Championship game I mentioned from last night. Arbroath 1, Airdrie 2. Thomas, first of all, for you, in terms of that result for Airdrie getting back after the defeat down at Ayr on Friday, important for them to get back into the playoff places with a good win at Arbroath, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, although they did lose last week, as you say, I think that's just their only defeat in 8 in all competitions. So they're picking up a decent bit of form at the right time in their race for the playoffs, which is obviously really congested. I think there was 6 points between 8th and Airdrie in 4th. So yeah, 5 games left or so, a couple with 6. So it's really tight. And just it's fascinating to see who's going to be able to time their run, which Airdrie seem to be doing okay at the moment, but we know it can change pretty quickly in the Championship. I just wonder how much of a boost they might get from winning that silverware against the New Saints in the Challenge Cup, which obviously coming off the back of that, they slipped to defeat. It was fairly, I'm sure they had a few celebrations after it. Not that I'm sure that affected things, but I wonder just overall in terms of confidence and momentum at the end of the season, what that might do for them.
One thing that might not change, Rory, it strikes me it's looking less and less likely to change is Arbroath's situation. They're kind of looking doomed, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they've left themselves far too much to do, similar to Livingston in the top flight. I do believe that they've been the poorest team in the league, which after such a good healthy run and stint in the Championship, with the fact that they're part-time and their resources compared to other clubs in that division, it's a difficult one, but they've had a good run at it. But at the start of the season, every season in the Championship, Arbroath would be favourites to go down, and this year it's transpired that way and it's happened, and Jim McIntyre hasn't been able to turn around their fortunes. But on the back of last night with Airdrie winning as well, what a fixture at the weekend, Airdrie against Morton, that could go a long way to deciding just who does finish in that fourth spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just one other story from that news roundup, John Beaton being appointed as the ref for the Rangers-Celtic game on Sunday. What do you make of that, Rory? It's quite intriguing given his the recent history with Brendan Rodgers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting, but we're not blessed with a full array of referees to choose from, so from time to time these things are going to pop up where a referee's been criticised by a particular manager and then ends up in the charge of a very important fixture a couple of weeks down the line. In this particular occasion, I don't know if it's a statement from the referees to say, look, we're not going to be influenced by noise from the outside, we'll appoint who we feel is best to appoint, but it did seem like an avoidable situation. But they have decided to, in my opinion, make a statement by saying, we're not going to be influenced. I think it was the same when Rangers come out and mentioned Willie Collum personally as well. So, a bit of a siege mentality almost, which probably VAR has caused overall, I would say. The referees kind of feel it's us against them type scenario. So, look, he's an experienced referee. He should be able to handle the fixture, and just hope come the end of the game it's the football we're talking about, because it's ruining too many games. The discussion, the never-ending discussion of referees and VAR.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
We will have a special Old Firm preview on Friday, and on a Thursday we'll have our usual focus on the Championship. So today we thought we'd have a look at the other fixtures in the Premiership this weekend, and there are some intriguing looking games. I'm going to kick off looking at Hibs and St Johnstone. Thomas, for you, those pair, who needs the 3 points more?
Oh, that's a good question, Al. I don't know, that is the honest answer. I mean, what's more important, Hibs finishing the top six or St Johnstone try and stay in the Premiership? Probably the latter. For St Johnstone, if they want to avoid the playoff spot, I mean, their form is not good. 1 win in their last 8, lost 6 of those. So, I think when you talk about a relegation battle, which they are certainly in, you need momentum from somewhere. You need confidence from somewhere, and they need a result. I'm not sure they'll get it at Easter Road because Hibs' home form generally is pretty good, but I think it's a must-win for them if they want to finish top 6. Obviously, if they lose and then Dundee win, it's all over. So it is at that stage of the season where, it's not really about performance. It's just you need to get results on the board now. There's no time left. There's no time to make up ground. And for both Hibs and St Johnstone, their respective kind of battles, then they just absolutely need the 3 points. And I probably would expect Hibs to get it, as I say, at home. And generally speaking, they've been better since the winter break, and they've had some tough fixtures. Obviously, Rangers and Celtic they've played, and Hearts as well in there. So I think Hibs will probably have too much, but you never know.
No, Rory, I mean, Hibs, as Thomas says, strikes me that what he says is right, that they have improved. I think their January signings have really helped them, albeit they didn't really ever look like taking anything from Ibrox. Equally, St Johnstone, I think Craig Levein was a lot happier with their actual performance, despite the defeat at the weekend. But they're in real bother, aren't they? Just a point above Ross County.
Yes, they are. There's absolutely no doubt about it. They're struggling. As are Ross County, to be fair. There's been an upturn in performances since Don Cowie's come in as well. But ultimately, the two sides just are not picking up enough points, and it's just a straight race now to see who can avoid the playoff spot. But Craig Levein's got the experience. For me, Don Cowie probably has the better squad. So it's going to be very interesting between now and the end of the season to see who can avoid that spot. But they did play better at the weekend, St Johnstone, and that'll be a concern for Craig Levein, because I think he's been quite honest in previous weeks and we've not played particularly well and they've picked nothing up. But I think it's more of a concern when you're St Johnstone in their position and playing a lot better and still not picking up any points against a team that, yes, is having a good season, but home to Dundee is a fixture St Johnstone historically should always be looking to pick up at least a point from.
Still down in that similar realm to St Johnstone, Aberdeen, a couple of wins in a row though under Peter leaving. You'd imagine it seems like he's probably going to be in charge again away to Livingston. Would you imagine that they will go on and make it three wins in a bounce, Thomas, and all of a sudden start looking up, albeit the top six is beyond them now, surely?
Well, given Livingston's record and, as you say, held back-to-back wins for Aberdeen, you would say so. But I think one thing that most people have learned this season is I wouldn't trust Aberdeen to win 3 games in a row. I think that's only the second time, or maybe third, they've gone back-to-back in the league this season. So I wouldn't necessarily say most people would fill you with confidence that they go down to Livingston and dominate. I remember the first game of the season they went there, it was 0-0, one of the most awful games of football you'll ever watch. So it can be tough down there. I know it's a bit of a cliche on the Livingston's pitch, and they are, albeit 10 adrift, and probably their hope is draining fast, but they're probably scrapping for their lives. So it'll be a tough game. I wouldn't expect there'll be much in it. Even when Livingston came to Pittodrie earlier in the season, they took the lead, and Aberdeen had to come from behind and narrowly won 2-1. So the games have been tight this season, and I would probably expect similar. But I suppose for Livy, it's now or never, and increasingly looking like never.
Yeah, no, it would appear that way. And I suppose, I think that, a trip to Livingston never appeals to any team, I don't think, but their home record actually this season's been abysmal. I think it's just a couple of wins. I was looking at that ahead of the Celtic one, so things looking grim for them. Ross County, Rory, are as you say, again improved under Don Cowie, but maybe not getting the points. We saw that at Pittodrie. Any chance of them bouncing back away to Kilmarnock? That looks like a tough one for them.
Yeah, it will be a tough one for them. I don't see them picking up all 3 points. I think the best they can hope for is a point. Kilmarnock's home form's strong. They've had a very, very good season, and I think there's only so long that performances will get you by. I think at the start of the season, if your team's performing well, not picking up so many points, there's reason to be optimistic, because if you keep performing well, you know the points will come. But when there's so little games left and you're in such a precarious position, it really does just come down to scrapping for points. But Simon Murray's in a good vein of form. He's scoring goals, and that's one thing that I would say about Ross County that you probably wouldn't say about St Johnstone is, they're capable of scoring, and that instills belief. Not that St Johnstone can't score a goal, but I just believe that Ross County's squad is that slight bit stronger than St Johnstone, so they'll go down there with a belief they can pick up at least a point, but they need to start doing it soon, because as Don Cowie will find out, and he's a fantastic young manager. I did my badges with him, and young coach, should I say, and he'll find out very quickly that he's going to need to pick up results and not just perform to a particular standard without getting any points. Okay,
into the top half, and I think I'm right in saying that St Mirren need a point to be absolutely sure of staying in the top 6 into the split. They host Hearts this weekend before, I think, finishing up at Celtic Park, so no guarantees they'll get that point, but they've been in such good form this season, you would have to imagine they'll get across the line eventually, Rory.
Yeah, you would imagine so. But, it's 2 tough fixtures, playing the champions and the team who's currently first in the league, and then Hearts, who are third and having a very, very strong season as well. But just, from the top of these previews of the games, you look at the Hibs St Johnstone, the first question that was asked, the importance that's riding on that, who's more in need of the 3 points, and you run through all the fixtures. That's why we love this time of the season, and St Mirren will be desperate to go over that line as soon as they can, and Stephen Naismith will want to put right a few wrongs of recent results, so it'll be a very competitive fixture. Hopefully we see some good football on display, because that can hamper the standard at times, I think, such pressure. But it's 2 good sides who've had really good seasons. I do expect St Mirren to finish in the top 6, whether they confirm it themselves by picking up points against 2 good sides, or whether it's left to other teams to decide it for them. I think it will happen one way or another out.
One team who I've got a bit more of a scrap to ensure they're in the top 6 are Dundee, Thomas. They're home to Motherwell. Motherwell themselves finding a wee bit of form, but Dundee, again, in terms of the the season as a whole, it would almost feel harsh if they were to not reach the top 6, wouldn't it, after the work that's been done at Dens over the course of the season?
Absolutely. It just shows you it's all about expectations, isn't it? Because if Hibs were to sneak into top 6, you'd say that's just par, and they've just done it by the skin of their teeth. Whereas Dundee, you say, what an incredible season to come back up. The job Tony Docherty's done has been fantastic. They play some really good football, and especially at home. I think only Celtic, Rangers, Hibs and Hearts have actually won at Dens in the league this season, so you'd have to back them probably at home, although Motherwell are capable of beating anyone, as we saw them going to Ibrox. And it's interesting, they'll probably, there's too much for them to do, I think, to make the top 6 where Motherwell are, but they'll probably end up being the kingmakers because they play Dundee obviously this weekend, and then they go to Hibs, I think, in the final post-split game. So both those sides will have to get the better of Motherwell, which is obviously not going to be easy. But I can't really call what's going to happen in terms of top 6. It is literally just going to be a shootout. I think, as Rory says, I would expect St Mirren to get over the line, either themselves or just through the way things fall, and I think that would be just given the season they've put in. But then, I think Hibs and Dundee, it's just about who gets the job done. Dundee obviously have that game in hand, but the tendency is almost to write that off as a bonus because it's against Rangers, who beat them 5-0 at Dens earlier in the season. But obviously, if they can even take advantage of that as well, they are certainly in pole position, and it would be just a magnificent season for them if they were to do that. And as I say, they could confirm it this weekend if Hibs slip up and they win.
Okay, well, the Scottish women's national team opened their Euro 2025 qualifying campaign in Serbia on Friday night before hosting Slovakia on Tuesday. Brogan Hay and Christy Harrison-Murray have been called up to the squad after injuries to Christy Grimshaw and Hayley Lauder caused them to withdraw. Thomas, I know you're on commentary duty for the game against Serbia. Just looking at the double-header, though, how important are these games for the Scots?
I think they're massive, Al, to be honest. I think it's an absolutely critical campaign for the women's national team and the manager, Pedro Martinez-Losa. I think it's fair to say there were a few eyebrows raised when he signed a contract extension to 2027, given that they missed out on the World Cup and the playoffs at home to the Republic of Ireland. And having failed the campaign before that, obviously when Shelley Kerr was unable to get them to a third major tournament, missed out on the Euros, I just think they really cannot afford, and the players say this themselves, Erin Cuthbert said it numerous times, they just can't afford to keep missing major tournaments. To miss a third, I just think would be devastating for them. And it's not really fair on the players, but the way it is, I think, how the women's game is maybe perceived and how its development in Scotland, I think a huge amount of onus is placed on the success of the national team. As I say, I don't think that's necessarily fair on the players in the squad, but it's just the way it is. And for that reason, I think they just carry a lot of pressure into this campaign with the need to get to the Euros in Switzerland. Having said that, the way the qualifying has been revamped so that it's directly linked to the Nations League. They obviously got relegated into League B, so they're the top-ranked team in their section ahead of Serbia and Slovakia and Israel by quite some way. And basically, as long as they don't finish last out of that 4-team section, they'll get a playoff against another League B side, and then if they win that, they'll get another playoff against one of the third or fourth place teams in the League A tier. So you have to go some to really not get a shot at the playoffs, a 2-game shootout for the Euros. So I think they're in with a good chance, but you've got to start well, and that starts away to Serbia on Friday night.
I mean, as you say, they are ranked well above their various rivals, including Serbia from that first game. Have you had a chance to kind of really look at Serbia and establish what kind of game Scotland can expect on Friday? Is it going to be very much about Scotland trying to break Serbia down?
I think so, Al, yeah. And that's something that, to be honest, having watched a lot of them and covered a lot of the games Scotland in the last 2 campaigns, that they've really struggled with. They don't score a lot of goals. Pedro Martinez-Losa has, his aim was always to kind of change his style of play and get them playing out from the back. But I think sometimes they struggle to do that in terms of if they get pressured then against really good teams, as we saw in the Nations League against the likes of England and Netherlands, they can really be punished. And when teams don't press and sit off and sit deep, they struggle to break through them. They've obviously got some key injuries, none more so than Caroline Weir, who obviously provides such a creative spark and goal-scoring threat from the edge of the box as well, who's out with an ACL injury. And at the moment, obviously, young Emma Watson, who'd made such an impact, and Kirsty McLean, the teenager, has been absolutely brilliant for Rangers. She's also injured at the moment. So those are, some disappointing injuries that they have to juggle with. But I think they're going to have to find the answers that they've not really been finding overall in qualifying. If you look at the last World Cup qualifying campaign, they did enough to finish behind Spain and get into the playoff. Got past Austria, which was good at Hampden, and then the Republic of Ireland. It was exactly that kind of game. Republic of Ireland sat off, waited for their moment, pressed, and got a breakaway goal. And it's something Scotland have really struggled with. So this is going to be another test for them, and I think they're going to be the favourites. They're going to have most of the ball in all these games, I would suspect. Mm-hmm. And the test for them is how do they play at a tempo, a pace, and move the ball quick enough to break these teams down and score goals, because it has been a problem.
No, well, we wish the Scottish women's national team well for those two fixtures. That's all we've got time for. Many thanks to Rory Loy and Thomas Duncan, and thank you for listening. Remember, we publish new episodes every weekday morning, so you can get your daily dose of Scottish football bright and early. So if you haven't done so already, just follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out. Bye for now.
Sacked in the Morning is back.
I got the ball and I put it on the spot, and as I got up, it was literally the best feeling I've ever had. And believe me, I spent a lot of money on feelings in my life.
Joining Craig Levine and myself, Amy Irons, will be some of football's top managers, best characters and most colourful players, as we reveal what exactly goes on inside the dugouts and dressing rooms up and down the country.
I had a lad the other week and I saw him, he was playing, the first half he was playing the opposite wing. He had a set of gloves on and short sleeves. And I thought to myself, I can't wait till next half till he comes near me.
As the manager comes in, he smashes the door open, the jacket's off, shirt sleeves are up. We're thinking, here we go. We're all nudging each other like school kids and giggling.
Sacked in the Morning. Listen now on BBC Sounds.